Brad, can you just talk about the 18-1 run you guys put together and then the rally that Denver put together?
Yeah, I mean, obviously that was the run that gave us enough of a cushion. Didn't look like it for a little bit there at the end because we were sloppy with the ball. But, you know, when I was watching Denver on film, and we actually talked about this in the walkthrough today, that they were a team that, you know, I was watching the Indiana game. They were down relatively, you know, down 15 in the second quarter. They were up 10. They were down 8, and then they ended up winning the game. Like, they're a team that has gone on runs pretty consistently in every game, whether it was Indiana or Detroit, Memphis, all those games. They can streak on you, and you know, I thought we did a pretty good job of handling that in the first 3.5 quarters, and then we got sloppy at the end. And but you know, for the most part, I thought we played pretty well, and you know, moved the ball and defended. We've got to tighten up our defense when, you know, they're in need 3 situations and they're going to shoot a lot of threes. We need to do a much better job of guarding the 3-point line.
Is it oversimplifying to point to defense as what's given you the uptick in the last few games?
I didn't think our defense was as good tonight as it was the 3 games prior. Maybe I'm just talking from that last 6-minute spurt that I'm feeling, but you know what? We reverted in the fourth quarter also to some of our fouling late, and we've got to do a better job with that. We have a lot of room to improve, but when we turn it up and we're in the right position, you know, we can be a good defensive team. So, you know, again, if we don't guard, you know, I think I've always said, if we don't play well, we won't win. If we don't guard, we won't win. And so, you know, that's part of us playing well.
Coach, you've obviously the past couple of weeks have shortened the rotation a bit, and it seemed it was a little bit tighter now. You went a strong 8, and then you 9, 10 guys after that, but not major minutes for them. How important has that dynamic been for this team of late to really tighten up that rotation a little bit from earlier?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You'd have to ask them. I mean, I don't know. I believe in all the guys that are playing, and I believe the guys aren't. So, and they're all been really pulling together and pulling in one direction in the locker room. And so the guys that are playing well. And, you know, when the next man up's number gets called, he'll play well. And, you know, it's just kind of the way you go about it. You know, I went with Tyler because Nurkic was such a load for us last year in the first half. And then we went with Kelly in the second, or Jonas in the second, just to kind of play Kelly at the 5, so their 5s would have to guard him a little bit. So you're just kind of playing that game and seeing what works and figuring it out on the fly. You got an idea going into each game how they're going to play and how they're going to substitute, but that can change. And, you know, we've been flexible enough with that second unit to do some different things, which has been good. That second unit playing pretty well.
You touched on Kelly a minute ago. Pretty efficient, 17 points, 17 minutes. Just his overall game and just how it's grown the last few weeks.
Well, I mean, I think I read somewhere where he said that he's starting to, you know, find his spots better, or he's starting to, you know, understand where all his spots are coming from. And I think that's probably true. That's probably an experience thing, probably something you learn. But we need him to be aggressive for us to be good. We've said that all year. And now the way that we've kind of chosen to play with a lot of skill on the floor, you know, the skill is only a threat if you use it.
Brad, another big first half from Avery. He tends to have those. What does he do in terms of just allowing everybody else to sort of settle in when he's doing that?
I thought today he did a good job. He made some great plays off the dribble, but I thought our team also did a really good job of finding him. You know, they made multiple passes across the court. They kicked out. They drove and kick, and we were able to take advantage of that. But you know, he went through that mini slump, which every shooter has at some time or another. But all that means is you're going to have a flurry of makes at some point or another too.
Brad, past couple of games you played Avery the entire second quarter, playing a lot of minutes with the second unit. Can you just explain the thinking behind that?
Well, I've actually mixed it up in probably the last 6 or 7 games that way. I think, I forget what game it was. It it was maybe even before Indiana came here, so maybe it was 10 or 12 games ago. I told him we'd take him out early in the first and put him back in the second at the start. And I've mixed that a little bit, done that with Jay some, done that with Isaiah some. But I think Avery fits well with Evan and Marcus for a number of reasons. And, you know, again, with Avery's skill and Kelly's skill in that group playing together at the start of the second quarter, that's been a productive group for us.
Coach, one more question on Avery Bradley. He scored your guys' first points of the night somewhere around a little below 40% of your games this season. How often do you actually purposely draw plays up for him to get the ball, or does that just happen through the offense? And if you do draw it up for him, why?
We have multiple options on some of those ATOs at the start of the game, and Avery's one of our good options for, you know, to create a shot off an action. So, but we have multiple options in each ATO and to start each game, and you know he often ends up with the ball, I guess.
Brad, this was your fifth 15-steal game of the season, which was the most for this franchise since 03-04.
Sweet.
So pretty sweet, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel like the team is more in control of a game when it's getting that significant number of steals?
I don't even pay attention to the steals, to be honest. That means nothing. I mean, all it means, I said this before the game, is we're in good position. When we start gambling and taking ourselves out of position, it's not worth it. And, you know, those futile attempts get you beat. And we had a couple of those tonight that we got scored on. And but we started the game in the right position getting steals. And those are worth it. But you just have to be able to balance that. You can't get caught up in the steals or defense thing if you're a player. And if you're, you know, certainly coach, you just got to be in the right spot to make it as difficult as possible. And then when that person brings the ball in your direction and you're in the right spot, then be active with your hands and be aggressive. And so I think that our guys have done a pretty good job of that all year. But it's why we don't talk about it a lot.
Coach, you talked about the good feeling in the locker room. Without much practice time, do you feel like there's a good
We
rhythm
we need to practice, I think. We'll practice tomorrow, which will be good. We don't need to, you know, we're not going to be out there very long. We're never out there very long at this time of the year. But we need to be crisp in a, you know, 30 or 45-minute session on the court. And, you know, that's what we'll try to be, and we'll try to plan it so that we get enough done. But we've got a lot of room to get better. You saw that tonight. And, you know, hey, you know, this is kind of one of those times of the year where you've got to get the appropriate amount of rest so that you can really perform at a high level. But we've got some executing work to do on both ends.
You've said a lot of times that you don't talk about turnovers, but how much does it change your offense when you are getting those turnovers? And
it's easier to score 1-on-0 and 2-on-1 than it is 5-on-5. I mean, there's no question about that. So the offensive numbers look a little bit better when you're stealing the ball and laying it in. But I think the biggest thing, it probably, you know, what it does for your offense is it allows guys to see the ball go through the basket. And once they see the ball go through the basket, there's a confidence lift in each and every game. You know, if you get an easy layup or you get a dunk in transition, you get a run-out three, whatever the case may be. But, you know, I'm glad we're doing it. I'm glad we're getting steals, and I'm glad we're converting it. But I don't think it's not the talking point for us. The talking point is position and being reliable in that. Thank you.